everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really diving into a topic that's everywhere you turn these days: artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's inescapable these days. And for good reason, it seems like.
Absolutely. We asked for your input, and you sent in so much really fascinating material on this, and we're excited to, really get into it all with you.
Hmm.
A lot of what we received grapples with how to make sure humans and AI can both thrive together, which is a big question.
It really is. There are no easy answers there.
Yeah.
But the stuff you've sent in highlights how important it is to remember that AI isn't good or bad on its own. Like any tool, it's all about how we use it.
True, true. And it's easy to focus on all the hype, good and bad. But the sources you all sent in really take a balanced approach. They look at the possible downsides too, like AI being biased when it makes decisions.
Which is already happening, by the way. It's not just a theory. Like with those AI recruitment tools that have been shown to be biased against women in certain industries.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a perfect example of why we need to think very carefully about how these systems are designed and used, especially when they're used in sensitive areas like hiring.
No doubt. And this all ties into what a lot of what you sent in talks about, the need for a human-in-the-loop approach.
Okay, can you unpack that a little?
Hmm.
What does human in the loop even mean when we're talking about AI?
Basically, it means making sure that humans still have oversight and control, especially in situations where the stakes are high. Think healthcare, for example.
Right. We don't want AI making life or death medical decisions.
Exactly. A human-in-the-loop system means AI is there to assist medical professionals by analyzing data and offering insights. But ultimately, a human is the one making those crucial decisions.
So it's about using AI's strengths without, just handing over control and our ethical responsibility completely.
Exactly. Now, some of what you send in focuses on these kinds of risks, but other sources are more optimistic. They highlight all the ways AI has the potential to really improve our lives and empower us.
See, that's what makes this whole topic so interesting. It's not just black and white, it's this whole range of potential outcomes.
It really is. And one of those is how AI could help us become more capable. One of the articles you sent in even calls AI our partner in developing skills and learning new things.
You mean instead of AI replacing us in the workforce, it could actually help us become more adaptable and skilled?
Exactly. Imagine AI tutors that create a totally personalized learning plan for every student based on their needs and how they learn best.
Or AI platforms that could connect people with the resources and mentors they need to learn new skills throughout their lives.
Exactly. We need to be ready for lifelong learning in a world where AI is constantly changing things and opening up new possibilities.
Which challenges the idea that AI will make everyone unemployed, doesn't it?
For sure. It points to a future where jobs don't disappear, they change. And those changes will create a demand for new skills and new kinds of experts.
So being able to adapt is key. It's not about being afraid of becoming obsolete. It's about being excited for the chance to grow and reinvent yourself with the help of AI.
Right. And that leads into one of the strategies for dealing with all of this, that your sources talk about promoting something called human-centered AI.
Human-centered AI. I like the sound of that. It means we have a choice in how this technology is used, right?
Exactly. Human-centered AI means building systems that work with and strengthen what humans are already good at, not trying to replace us.
So instead of designing AI that thinks like us, we should be designing it to help us think better.
Yes. It's about using AI to boost our creativity, our critical thinking, our emotional intelligence, all those things that make us human.
Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. One of the sources you sent in asks how AI could help us with mental and emotional well-being.
It's kind of a weird thought, isn't it? This technology that can seem so cold and mechanical could actually have a big impact on our inner lives.
Right, and that's what the article explores. It talks about using AI to create things like personalized tools for therapy, mindfulness, and stress management.
Like imagine an app that analyzes your moods and then suggests things you can do to feel calmer and more focused.
Or what about an AI assistant that reminds you to take a break from your screen or do something offline?
Right. It's all about using AI to help us feel better and stay healthy, especially in a world that's so digitally driven.
That reminds me, you mentioned the need for AI-free spaces earlier. Can you talk more about that?
Of course, as AI becomes more and more a part of everything we do, it's important to have places where we can just unplug and get away from technology. Spaces where we can connect with each other and be present in the moment.
So it's like hitting the refresh button on your brain and your relationships.
Exactly. These AI-free zones could be anywhere. Parks, community centers, even just a room in your house where you make a point of limiting technology.
It's about creating boundaries. Because while AI can be amazing, it shouldn't mean we lose the ability to just be present and connect with the world around us in a meaningful way.
You got it. We need to find a balance, a place where AI helps us without overwhelming us, where it works with our humanity, not against it.
This deep dive has already been so insightful. We've talked about so much, from biased algorithms to amazing opportunities for learning and well-being, and we're not done yet.
Definitely not. Your sources don't shy away from the tough questions about AI and the law and ethics, which we'll get into right after this.
So before we take a break, we were talking about, finding that balance with AI. And thinking about that, well, it made me think about all the legal and ethical kind of gray areas that come up around this technology. It feels like we're in totally uncharted territory.
It is, and it's something that your sources definitely get into. They ask some pretty tough questions about how our laws need to change to keep up with how fast this technology is evolving.
Yeah, because if AI is making more and more decisions that affect our lives, who's responsible when something goes wrong?
Exactly. One of the things you sent in uses this really interesting example. Say a self-driving car malfunctions and causes an accident.
Yeah.
So then who's at fault? The company that made the car, the person who programmed it. What about the AI itself?
Whoa. Yeah, that's a tough one. Makes you think about, in a world with more and more AI, who's ultimately responsible when something goes wrong.
And it's not even just about accidents and physical harm. Your sources also highlight how important it is to think about digital rights in the age of AI.
That makes sense. We're creating more data than ever, and AI needs data to function. But how do we protect our privacy and, our own autonomy in all of this?
It's a big question. And your sources talk about a bunch of different approaches, like
Yeah.
stricter regulations around data privacy and more transparency from tech companies about how our data is being used. They even talk about building AI systems that actually have privacy as a core principle from the ground up.
So it's not just about making rules, it's about designing the technology itself with these values in mind.
Exactly. It's about making ethical considerations, like part of the DNA of AI, from the very beginning, which leads to, this is maybe the wildest idea I came across, the idea that we might need to define rights and responsibilities for AI systems themselves.
Whoa. Okay, now we're getting into some really out there territory. Are we talking about making AI a legal person?
It's something that some experts are actually discussing. And just to be clear, we're not talking about saying that AI has all the same rights as humans. At least, not yet. But as AI gets more sophisticated, learns things on its own, makes decisions on its own, well, it makes you wonder if it should also have to be accountable for its actions, just like we are.
Right, I see what you mean. If AI can make choices that affect the world, then shouldn't it have to answer for those choices? Just like any human would.
Exactly. It's about making sure that as AI becomes more powerful, it also operates within a framework of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't just, some far-off thing. Your sources point out that this is a very real discussion happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
In legal circles and in tech, people are really trying to figure out how to deal with this.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it, how AI is making us rethink all these fundamental ideas we have about intelligence, about what responsibility means, even what it means to be a person. It's like we're on the edge of this whole new way of understanding things.
It really is a time of huge change. And with all these complicated questions and potential problems, it'd be easy to feel overwhelmed or even kind of scared about the future.
Totally. But the good news is that the sources you send in don't leave us hanging. They also offer a lot of hope and a lot of really practical advice on how to deal with all of this ethically and responsibly.
Right. And something they emphasize is that this isn't something that governments or big tech companies are just going to decide for us. We all have a role to play in figuring out the future of AI.
So it's less about just sitting back and watching this technology happen and more about actively shaping how it unfolds.
Exactly. And one of the most important ways we can do that is by becoming informed and engaged citizens.
Knowledge is power, right? The more we know about AI, the better we'll be able to ask the right questions, to advocate for ethical development, and to make choices that are in line with our values. So we need to be having those bigger conversations, too, about AI's place in society as a whole, not just the tech itself.
100%. We should be having those conversations everywhere. In schools, at work, in our governments. And that connects to another strategy that your sources brought up.
Mm.
We need to demand more transparency and accountability from the people who are building and using AI, the companies and institutions. Yeah.
So we should hold the people creating AI to the same standards that we hold ourselves to.
Right. It's about asking those tough questions, like what are the biases that might be built into this algorithm? What data was used to train it? How are we going to make sure its decisions are fair?
And not just taking their word for it, but really pushing for clear answers and real safeguards.
Exactly. We can't think about AI as this neutral thing. It reflects the values and priorities of the people who created it, and we have every right to expect that those values line up with our own.
It's about realizing that we're not powerless here. This technology is powerful, but we have a voice and we can use it to make sure AI is used in a way that benefits everyone.
That's a great way to put it, and that brings us right back to the beginning. The idea of AI and humans thriving together. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We can find ways to use AI to make us better and create a better future for everyone. A future that's more fair, more just, more fulfilling.
This deep dive has been quite the journey. We've covered so much, from algorithms to like the very essence of what it even means to be human in the age of AI.
It really is a lot to process. But it's exciting too. This is a huge moment for humanity, really.
Yeah.
And we have a chance to be a part of something that will impact generations to come.
So if you had to pick one big takeaway for our listeners today, what would it be?
I'd say the future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're creating right now, together. And if we're mindful and proactive as we put humans at the center, then we can make sure it's a future where everyone thrives, humans and AI alike.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, everyone, until next time, keep those brains buzzing, and thanks for joining us on the deep dive.